Okay, so let's go with this review. So with this review, this is actually a match you won, but I still think there's a lot of important thing that we can take out of this match, and that's why I'm going to review it. I might review another one, like I might do half an hour of two. We'll see. It depends on how much time it takes me here. But the main idea I wanna talk about in this match is a similar idea we talked last time, but seen from another perspective, which is we need to stop thinking locally. Okay, so which is one of the I think one of the most important things when we play in 19 by 19, and why it is sometimes hard to do the transition between like starting from 9 by 9, sometimes going into 13 to 13, or just jumping immediately into 19, is stop thinking locally, um, because things are not just local anymore. Okay, so just normal start right here. We're doing the pillar here, the typical kick into pillar, and then white decides to not jump. Okay, it just extends. These are already like, if we just go back, because we talk about the Yosekis that span out of this. We can have also triangle instead of one, and square instead of two, right? So these are just sekis. That means those are like equivalent locally. Both win like something equivalent, both black and white. This means if white plays something different, like a little bit different, if we just play normal here, we are already winning, because white would like to have this tone a little bit farther. So white is already losing. It doesn't, maybe it doesn't look like it, but white is already losing. It lost something locally. Okay? Why is that? Because then we later have approaches like this. Okay? If white doesn't do anything else, this black stone can later do something. Okay? Now, what we decide to do instead is to attack immediately. And why did I put the attack here instead of like on F3? Is because F3 is a contact. So we talk on other classes about contact plays. The thing about contacts is that they just make both sides strong. It's not necessarily bad or anything. You want to do contacts in certain contexts, but the question is when you want to make someone strong. So in this position, white shapes is not great, because again, they didn't do the usual Yoseki. That means there's something off on white. So if we touch white, and by the way, Akusumi, this diagonal right here, is touching. Okay? When we have a normal stone, there is several ways to touch it. Basically, we always think of tsukes, which is the contact place, but the shoulder hits and kicks and things like that are also touch moves. Okay? Because they're just too close. Like if we put a stone this close, it encourages the other player to just keep touching. Okay? So most of the time when we talk about approaches, a move like this is considered touching the opponent. Okay? So since white shape is not great, we don't want to touch it because we're gonna make it stronger. And if we make it strong, like we're telling white, hey, fix your shape, right? Because I'm touching you, so they have to do something. Whereas if I go a little bit farther, I'm not really asking white to fix their shape. Like, who knows? Maybe he'll do another kick, and I extend again. And the thing is, if we do this, there is still like some weird weak points here. on the inside. This is not really white's yet. If white really wants to consolidate the corner, it probably needs another stone. And if it takes another one, then maybe I can just connect everything. And just connecting everything is usually good, right? Here, white did some territory, right? And it's not clear where black's territory is gonna be, but it doesn't matter. Black has a wall that projects to the center and to the sides. This wall will make points eventually if we use it as strength, okay? I know that's very abstract, but I actually want you to use walls like that. Every time you have a wall and projection to the center, forget about points. Don't think about points. Just try to use the wall to attack something. And you will see, you will get to the end of the game and you wouldn't even notice when your wall will start making points, but it will. Because that's how strength and influence works, okay? When we get stronger, we actually can like think about how many points a wall will make and all things like that. But I would say even strong players, like very strong players, don't even think about points when they think about walls and influence. But instead, they're thinking, what am I going to use this for? And then, while I'm using it, is where I'm going to make points. But they're not even thinking how many. They're just thinking, okay, my points will go in this direction while I attack something. Let's not think about points. Let's just think attack something. And that's another thing I want to ask you. I don't know if you do this or not, but don't use the estimator. And so there is this, point estimator, score estimator for, knowing where I am on the match or all that. There's two reasons why I want you to never use it, for now, at least. The first reason is OGS estimator is actually not that great, so it might trick you sometimes. Like there is certain positions where maybe it won't give you the exact, like a good estimation compared to Katago, like a better AI. And the other reason is because I want you to just play good. What I'm trying to say by that is just play your good Go. Like your best Go in a match. Don't play, like, oh, the estimator says I'm behind too much, so I'm gonna play way too risky. Or I'm very ahead, I'm gonna play way too passively. Just try to play your usual style all the time. And if you wanna estimate, then try to count. Or try to, like, look at places in the match, look at, I don't know, squares, rectangles, and try to see, okay, this one is bigger than this other one, and all things like that. That is a good exercise. That is a very good exercise. And like when you are in person matches, you don't have an estimator. You have to estimate yourself. And if that takes too much energy from you, then just don't do it. Just think about the match. Don't think about points. Think about, what are my groups doing? Where are my weaknesses? Where are the opponent weaknesses? Abuse them. Try to fix yours, etc. And you will naturally be ahead if you keep doing those things. Or the match will be even, if both players are doing those things, right? So let's keep going here. So we got a contact, and naturally, white keeps contact. And then we have situations like this. So if there is basically two options here. Well, there's actually several options. We can like keep pushing, and naturally white will probably keep pushing. And then from 4 stones, we can usually either jump and like forget about this group, or we can slide. And this group right here is stable. And we have to remember, when something's stable, we forget about it. We just forget it exists and we go somewhere else. right? We just leave it there. Another option is to slide immediately. Okay, this way you're not quite telling white, do you want to keep doing stuff here? White might do, I don't know, something like this maybe, just to consolidate. But white's still kind of running away. Maybe he wants to close the corner. But we're not telling white, hey, keep playing there, like this close to stone 1. Now, if we push, there's only one thing we should be thinking here after the push, which is push and cut. So white blocks and we cut. Okay. So after the cut, white enforces reinforcements. And from here, since we push and cut, we gotta fight. Okay. We chose fighting, so we have to do it. Now, there is a ladder here. So the point of cutting is to fight. If we don't want to fight, then we shouldn't be cutting. Okay. So the problem is the ladder. Let's see. Oh, this ladder might not work, in fact. Right? So here. Let me see. So from here, it goes white here. Let's see. Okay, it's white here, and then here. Yeah, okay, so the ladder works. And even if it doesn't work, I think if we're fighting, we have to play on this side, right? So the next move should be something like this. Again, if we want to fight. I'm not saying fighting is the correct option, but that is the point of the push and cut. Okay? And from here is a fight. We separated, let's say, group A and group B. Right? And also we got ourselves separated on group C and group D. Right? But it's a fight. Instead, what happened here is we kind of give up the fight. Again, maybe you didn't like it, and that's fine. It's not bad to just, change your mind. But now this is a little slow. Remember, it's always not great to push from behind. If, let's say, we have a situation like this, we touch and we start pushing. This is usually good for white because black is pushing from behind. White's always gonna be one ahead. And this scenario is even worse because you're actually pushing from like 2 behind. You're pushing from here. So white can it can, what's it called? It can turn. So it's even worse. Okay. So if you see a situation like that, white can just turn. And now you have to start thinking about the life of this group, which again, it is probably fine because there is a lot of corner space, but that means you lost potential on this side, right? So never push from behind. In a situation like this, it's probably better to slide. If you want to give up triangle stone, if you think the fight wasn't worth it after you started, right? Which again is not the end of the world. So slide either this way or this way, maybe, right? I kind of like this way is good because the corner is so big and it's really hard for white to close it. So you can probably do something like that, maybe even that, who knows? Or maybe slide to the other side now to put pressure on the square group. Okay, now since we go so slow, white just takes. And now you slide, and that's fine. Okay, and now white completely takes. Even though it started the ladder, now I'm just gonna take. White can probably, if you're worried about the ladder, you can probably play something like this, maybe. Now you're probably gonna have the ladder, I don't know. So it just takes, And this is the main theme of this class. We need to stop thinking locally. Don't think locally. The only thing you gotta think locally is two things. One, am I alive? Two, is my opponent dead? Or is my opponent alive? And that's it. That is it. So when we reach a higher level, we're gonna start thinking more things. Like, for example, is it too big to don't play here? Because maybe I'm alive, but there's a center move for the opponent that is very strong on a local position. I actually don't even want you to think about that. I want you to wait a little bit, wait a couple cues level to start thinking about things like that. I just want you to think about survival, nothing else. If something looks like it has a lot of space, I'm gonna leave it alone. So black has a lot of space, so it's probably alive. White might have a base here, it depends who takes it, and it has center, and it has an eye here, so it's invincible, it's alive. That means everything on this side of the board, it's uninteresting. I want you to forget it. This is not part of the game anymore. Okay? We're gonna come back to this because the context is important. Of course, this part of the game, it's important regarding what do we do next. But again, I want you to wait a couple cues for that, because for now, the most important thing we gotta start learning is when we have to stop playing in a place. Okay? So that's the exercise I want you to have. You're on a match. Every single turn, you have to think, are the things that are here alive? If the answer is yes, then you play somewhere else. And by somewhere else, I mean far away, where there are alone stones, either from your opponent or from you. Okay? So here, I want you to ignore white and play here. Or here. Or here. To stabilize the two stones. Or here to start going for this corner. Or on the side. Or even on Tengen, or close to Tengen if you want. Even that is, farther. But again, far away from the alive things. This move is too slow. Okay? And again, if you want to actually do something local, this is probably better. Just jump. Okay? So something we said on another class is we play strong when we're being attacked, when we're being touched. And it is true that triangle group is being touched a lot. And it has pressure from square group. That is true. But there is a difference. This is not a fight. Right here, the situation down here is not a fight. No one is fighting. The situation here is square is taking influence on the center, and triangle is making points in the side. So no one's fighting. The only thing a triangle has to worry about is to make a live shape. Since there's no fighting, you don't care about touching here. Okay? If this was in the middle, maybe we want to touch to be stable. But here, since you have the border, nothing on the inside works. And that's why we can slide. That's why we can just comfortably do a knight's move. Because if white cuts, it can't. It cannot cut. You're gonna just eat the stone. That's why a knight from third line to second line, it can never be cut. It's impossible to cut it because the knight move depends on a ladder, and all the ladders are yours because they go immediately towards the border. Okay? That's the same reason why a lot of chimaris, the enclosures, are knight's moves, like from fourth to third, etc. From like this, is because they can never be cut. It's impossible to cut. You cannot cut it because the ladders go to the border immediately. Okay, and a ladder is the only way to cut a knight's move. So something like this. I'm getting a lot of triangles. I'm not sure why we're getting triangles here. Really weird. Okay. So if we have a knight's move, oh, another triangle. Okay. Whatever you want, OGS. If we cut it, so we're gonna put a stone here. Okay. So if we try to cut it, this depends on a ladder. This ladder. And this ladder goes this way. So if there is a stone here, then the cut is successful because black cannot cut on a ladder. But when you are on the corner, all of the ladders go towards you. There will never be a stone on first line here. And even if there is, it probably doesn't even break the ladder. Because stones on first line, you always have to read them if they cut ladders or not. A lot of the time, there's so little liberties on the corner that they don't even break ladders. It's kind of funny. Okay. So yeah, again, I want you to forget about this group, but if you end up thinking about it, just slide. Or maybe go this way, or this way. Okay, there's different ways to take care of that. So we keep playing here, we both keep playing here. And again, it's alive, we forget about it. We don't need to double down. Same for white, we don't need to double down. But we keep playing locally. Another thing here, for white, it can probably do this or this. No, actually, just turning is fine. Never mind. So we just keep playing locally. Here, there is here's a little something for me. When I was I remember when I was like 12Q, I would look at plays like this. You know, this is the typical, we're both on third line. We Hane into second line. Then opponent counter Hanes. And then there is this beautiful DDK Tsuji, double digit Tsuji, which is X. You know, it's like it disconnects and you eat the stone, right? So I remember when I first learned this, I was like, oh yeah, I need to defend, right? Because I know this. And if I don't defend and I play somewhere else, right, my opponent's gonna punish me. And I'm gonna lose this beautiful stone right here. And that's gonna make my territory smaller. And I remember feeling so good when I figure out this, you know, like I actually need to defend and all that. But the thing is, there is a caveat to this. There is like a next level to it. And the next level is actually to not defend. It's to almost unlearn that. Now let's explain it. So why would I not like to defend? Let's go into that same idea. I'm gonna play somewhere else. So now my opponent is like, oh, you're so bad. You didn't know about the beautiful DDK Tsui? Like Atari to the line of death. You're so bad. And you're like, okay, you can take my stone. I'm gonna give it to you. Take it. Now you're on Gote. How much do you win? A couple points? A stone? A little bit of territory? I play outside. And I'm gonna play outside again. Who do you think won from that exchange? We got one enclosure, we stabilized one group. 2 stones in middle game. Stones in middle game are worth 7 points each. Minimum. How much is this? 5 maybe against like 14, you just like completely tricked white, and you tricked it by unlearning something, or rather knowing that some things exist but knowing the properties of it. So the DDK Tsuji, Atari to the Line of Death, is good when it kills something. Like if this threatens the life of black, or actually makes like 1,000,000 points, or if we are on endgame, for example, this is big. And it's good to know that exists. But it's also, we need to remember, it's Gote. We're gonna give up Sente when we do Atari to the Line of Death. So it's actually very, very smart for black in this situation to just leave X empty. It's a trap. It's basically a trap. And the moment you learn it's a trap for white to lose, it's like a Sente trap, let's call it. The moment you learn how to use those Sente traps, you're gonna instantly go up a couple stones. Because you're gonna be making so much. There is just so much money being made here. And it only costs you 1 stone and a couple points. Okay? So that's why plays like X, we leave them for the end of the game, when this is actually worth it. When 5 points, it's, you know, a lot of points. This might be actually more than 5 points because of the continuations of black here. So maybe it's like 7, but again, a move on middle game, it's also probably like 7, 8. And you're getting 2 of them. So, you know, if your opponent loses it. For white here, better to defend this way. If you want to defend, I think it's better to not defend. Do something like this. This way you project all this area. If there is any kind of clamps or things at the end, well, whatever. We'll let black have them. It's like, okay, take your clamp, take a couple points. I still close a big house, right? Small things are small. We need to think big in the middle game. We can't think small. Okay? Same thing here. We need to stop thinking locally. This is better than this. But anything else is better than anything local. Because we're alive. And it's very important. Okay? Okay, and here is the first move of the match, apart from, you know, the very opening, where we actually do something a little bit farther. I like this move. I think this move is great because I wouldn't like something like this. You know, keep thinking locally, because white is fine. I mean, white has a cut. There's a little cut here. But, you know, last resort, maybe white can just make a living shape here. So even if it gets cut, it's not that big. But if we keep playing locally, white might take this place, right? And then my wall is not looking anywhere. Like we're not doing anything with this wall. And if we play here as black, then we're playing too close to the wall. This is not efficient, right? Because remember, when we have a stone on the third line, to stabilize it on the side, we want to play a 2-space jump. So there's 2 spaces in between. Then if we have a wall, we can jump 1 extra, right? And it can also be high. If it's a bigger wall, you can jump even 1 extra, etc. So every time we have a wall and our opponents makes us play too close to it, we're actually losing points. We're losing like a tiny bit. That exchange is good for white because my stones are what is called over-concentrated. And over-concentration is like, it's not very evident, but it's like you're bleeding points slowly, okay? It's like you're slowly bleeding points, and at the end of the match, you're gonna see you could have done more points with all those stones, because every stone is a turn. So that means we need to use them, you know? So this is good. I like this. Very good move right here. So white takes another. And then black goes here. So I'm not against this move. Just because I think in terms of principles, it's looking at white's potential. So white has a massive wall here. So its potential, it wants to project something here. It needs to project something in this direction. See, so thinking in that sense, this move is not bad or anything, but I do think it goes against some fundamental ideas that I think are probably more important to get right at this level. Okay, so when there is a stone on the side on the fourth line, I think we only should be thinking about two approaches: hide or low. Okay, and hide is on the same level, it's on fourth. So we do hide when we're fine. If the opponent takes the lower part, we're gonna take the upper part, and also the other way around. Whereas lower approach is when we actually want territory, and if the opponent closes, we can actually just ignore, So the thing about this is that, if white closes, we can play a stone on a different place, right? Or we can keep building this. Like, there's a big question. If we just jump forever, right? Who is winning more here? Like, white wins all this, which is big. It's massive, right? And it's like concrete. Nothing's gonna leave here. It's more abstract what black's winning, because there's still a lot of space to make a living shape here, but all this strength will be used to attack something here. And if nothing leaves, then it's gonna be more massive. So, I don't know, I think this is probably not a bad result. But yeah, so thinking about a Keima, I think the lower Keima is probably better. The higher, we're attacking a 4 stone from the 5th line. That's kind of an AI move, so that's why I'm not against it. But it's a little bit counterintuitive in terms of like human perspective, let's say. But again, I'm not completely against this. Let's see what happens. Oh, but by the way, it's because white can do stuff like this, and then white's taking not just all this strength, but also a lot of territory here, right? So yeah, that's why approaching from very high can be a little bit bad. Now white just ignores, takes the next big spot in, and then we get stuff like this. This is very good. I like this. So since white is playing high, you just play low. So this way, white, it's too high. So what is it gonna do? It has to run, right? It's hard to make like eyes on the A space because it's too high. That's very good. Then it keeps playing high. It's playing like light here. So the center is open. And it is hard to make points in the center. So it is not very clear what kind of pressure the circle stone does on the A group. And it's also not very clear what is going to accomplish. So in a scenario like this, white, since it's already high, and it's on 4th line, the best thing it can do is run. And if we just play here, we're actually making it run. Like if it plays here, for example, right? And the question is, why are we closing here? Because if we close out this, it's like, okay, these are points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line. So that's a lot of points. But at the same time, white can still invade here. Okay, this is gonna leave. This is gonna leave. No problem. So, and when white leaves here, it's gonna take a bunch of points here, at least. So in that scenario, maybe it's better to just like close everything. You know, it's like, because here we're telling white, hey, escape. But here we're telling white, okay, you could still escape if you want. You're making points in the center. I'm making points in the side. You know, this is massive. And now it's very hard for you to leave in the side. I have points. I don't know you have any, right? Whereas here, again, a stone in the sixth line, the sixth line, the fifth line, those are center. So we go center to fight. But it's hard to fight against white because white is, there's so much space for it. So it's the question, like, do we actually want to start a fight here? More of that. And white actually escapes, right? So we enclose her. Again, I think at this point, probably this is bigger. It's like there's no possibility for anything from here, right? Or this. And now if y enters again, well, now maybe we close. But we assure, completely assure the entire side. But yeah, we close here, that's fine. Y closes. And from here, Y connected. It's alive. Black is fine. Okay? We're not thinking too much about this because again, in this level, maybe we don't know that there are possible invasions here. So it's fine. But it looks strong. So it's alive. And if it's alive, we ignore it. What places are not necessarily alive? I would say the A stone. The A stone is the most important stone in this match right now. Because the A stone will determine whether this giant structure is points or not. Kind of looks like a paw now. Look at that. It's like a cat paw. Love it. So if white closes the cat territory, we're gonna have a big problem because it's a lot of points. So the A stone can change all that if it runs to the middle. And then now it's very hard to close this because of the influence of these stones. It's so hard to make a fence here. But let's say if white attacks A, it is very hard to attack, by the way, but let's say it tries to disconnect it somehow. Okay, let's play here. It tries to disconnect it, and then it's inside of white influence, and it needs to find a life. Then this is kind of like black's problem. We're making ourselves a problem. Like it's probably gonna leave anyways. Like black can probably leave here, but it is a more difficult fight. It is a more difficult match for ourselves. Whereas if we just think, everything on B is fine, everything on C is kind of alright, D is fine, E is fine, F is kind of alright. So A is the important point. It could be here as well, asking white, okay, maybe I want to close this. Okay, now I'm gonna slide here. And it looks smaller. We need to stop thinking locally. We need to forget about localness. We're not playing 9x9 anymore. Okay. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of local exchanges here. Here, this is probably like a little bit painful. Although it goes both ways. Both way can get somewhat painful here. Here for white, you can probably do some offense before having to defend. You know, even if you leave the Ataris, you're doing like more damage. But yeah, we just keep thinking locally. We keep thinking, let's make a big wall, and you make a big wall. Now, here's the thing, and this is why I think this is an important match to review, because in this match, technically this is not a mistake, because if black makes a wall here, and if white makes a wall here, black wins more. Because black is making 5th, 6th line points here, and white is just making a wall that looks into a possible reduction stone. Okay, so in terms of fundamentals, this is correct, or it's not correct, but it's not incorrect. But I still don't want you to play like this, because it's too, let's say, it's too obvious. We need to like step up. It's too easy to play like this, right? Like, again, until here, probably the best thing you can do to fix this wall is here, just to avoid the very awful Ataris that white can do. And it also, you know, if you can get the push, there's like a lot of cuts, so white, it's probably gonna answer this. And yeah, that's like about it. But I also think, you know, if something's stable, we just leave it. But it's alright. Now, the move I want you to forget is this move. This move needs to get out of your dictionary and out of your repertoire. It's similar to the push from behind move. This move is basically a dame. A dame is a neutral point at the end of the match. Like if we close territories eventually, you know, maybe like this or whatever, this is gonna end up being a neutral point. It literally doesn't make any points. Okay? So unless you have a continuation, a very clear continuation, like a cut, like you want to cut here or something later, which by the way you can't because of the A stone. It's just Atari towards A stone, right? So there's no cut. So if there isn't any local continuation, there is no reason to make the circle move. Like, why can't you just extend? And that's what actually happens, you know? So instead of that, we could have done this. Or this. Or this. Like, what are you going to lose? 1 point here? Literally nothing. So we're thinking, again, we're crawling too much. We need to jump more. And I know it's a little bit counterintuitive, because a lot of the time I say you have to crawl, you have to play solid when you're on a fight, right? But that's the thing, this is not a fight. White is fine, it has cool shape here. Black is fine, it has cool shape plus a lot of support from other stones. So it's not a fight. And as such, we don't have to crawl. We can jump. And we can also forget about it and play somewhere else, right? Okay, we keep crawling here. Never, so empty triangle. Never do that, okay? I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do it again anyways, because it's important. So, because I actually don't know if we talk about this, and it's this very basic, but it's still, I think it's important to talk about it. So why is the empty triangle so bad? Sometimes it's necessary, by the way. Sometimes it is the best move in certain situations. But what is bad about the empty triangle? Because a lot of people say, you know, empty triangle's bad, don't do it. but they don't really elaborate. So Go is a game of shapes. All the stones are the same. So the only thing that matters is what you do and what shape you do with the stones to give them purpose. So if we have 3 stones like this, they have 8 liberties. But then if we have 3 stones like this, they have 7 liberties. Okay. Now, it's not just the liberties. That's the first weakness of the empty triangle, is the liberties. It just has less liberties. So it's inferior to just a straight line with 3 stones. But then it's the shape as well, right? So this shape is clunky. Clunky shapes are usually bad in Go because it is not clear what they're doing. So we can like make a more extreme example with this. So now it's 10 liberties against 8. And also not just that, but the A and the B group. The A group has strength in certain directions, whereas the B group, it's like having, like a smaller wall in 4 directions. It's a wall of 2 stones, right? And this is just less efficient, right? Also, when we talk about this, so in the side, from 1 stone we jump 1, from 2 we jump 1 more, etc. That's on the side. But when we jump to the center, when let's say a stone is under pressure, we don't jump 2 anymore, unless we're playing like some very advanced techniques called Sabaki, but we're not gonna talk about those for a while, so don't worry about that. Okay. But when we want to leave and run to the center, we do 1 jumps. Okay. Because it's faster than just crawling. Okay. And it's very hard to cut a 1-point jump. It's extremely hard. You need a setup like this to cut it. That's like the amount of stones you need around to cut it. And you always need to read it. Most of the time it just doesn't work. You have to read that you can cut. Okay? So if I just jump, I'm fine. So when we go to the center, 1-point jump. But the idea is kind of similar. If we have 2 stones, so under pressure, and we need to jump to the center, now we can jump 1 more, because this structure is more stable, so it's harder to cut. It has more strength. Wall always have strength on the perpendicular direction of the wall. So the wall is a line. The perpendicular lines of this wall is where the strength goes, and is where there are not opponents. Though just a lot of the time when you have a wall, you also have a white or an opponent wall on the other side. It always projects strength in the direction perpendicular to it. Okay, and that's why we jump from walls, right? We don't play like this. Super inefficient. That's because that's your territory. If you just play big and close this, then this is your territory. So this isn't just a pass, like a passing move. It's actually, you're like playing inside your territory. You're losing points, right? So coming back to the other, we're talking, okay, this is good shape, this is bad shape. But this is not the only way to use 3 stones. We can also do this. Bam. We jump from it. And then suddenly this looks like an actual group, like like something that makes space, right? And the same idea as before. 4, 4, 4. Bad shape, good shape, excellent shape. All 4 turns, right? Then let's go back. Around here. Okay, so empty triangle. Jump. If you want to close. That's better, because if white pushes, you cover. Whereas here, white has the Hane. Or this. Right? You can also just ignore that, because the Hane is actually not big. And just play here. Or here. Or here. Take the side. Points in the center are small. Okay, so here's a move. So this is the last thing we're gonna talk about in this class. I have like 10 minutes to talk about it, which is control, let's say. So control in Go, in the sense of we don't need everything, okay? We just need to win. And I know I'm being super paradoxical, because I told you just before that this is too obvious, right? And you shouldn't do it. You should play more than that, than just something obvious that it's gonna make you win. But also, control is important in the sense because you can actually win more if you try to go for less. So when we play here inside, because white, this is white's power, and this is like the only place where white is gonna make points, at least on this level, because white doesn't know that it has moves here. It has moves here. There's a ko here. There's probably a move here as well. Probably all of those can do some very interesting stuff. So this is white potential. So, okay, I have the side. If I close this, and I have this rectangle, and I have this other rectangle, I think just looking at that my stuff is gonna be bigger than white's, right? And notice that I didn't include this portion here. Why? Because of the A stone. The A stone is like being very annoying for white center. As long as the A stone exists, white cannot like cleanly close the center. Okay? So this is thinking strategic on strategics. Oh, we also can add like this rectangle to white probably. Though B stone is on 4th line, which means it's not closing territory yet. Okay. So we can just like play a little bit more passively, like this, for example, and ask white, what does it want to do? If it wants to close, then I annoy more of the center. And it's really hard to close this. It's such a big fence. That's why you never make points in the center. You use it to attack something. Okay? We can also play towards the center, and maybe white takes this. Well, I connect, and now how are you gonna close this? It's so hard to close this. Whereas here, we're actually putting ourselves in an attack position. I don't know, maybe something like this. And now we're being attacked. Now we need to live inside. Oh, but maybe we can't. What's it gonna happen? Are we gonna live inside? Can we live inside? Like, why can't just play stable? Like, there's no cuts. It just plays completely safe. Where are my eyes? I've been attacked. I put myself in an attack position for no reason. Right? Because I want to have everything. Because I think, oh, this is too big. Can't let white have this. But you can just reduce if you want. Just reduce what white has, and you will win from this position, right? So that's what I'm saying when we need some control, let's say, okay? So white plays on top. Let's see what happens. Okay, so white actually played really easy. Let's say something that white can do here is just keep pushing. If you keep pushing, it's like I give you all that, but I take the center. And then, can you double Hane? Maybe you can double Hane, I'm not sure. But let's say you can for now. And suddenly, I took all the center. Right? But you also took a lot here. Like this wasn't free for white. But it was still kind of good for white. Like it's such a massive center. And this happens because we play from the inside. And we're leaving a lot of cuts. Now, white played like this. So yeah, you just connected everything. So white didn't use this very well. And it's because white is playing too passive from a position where white has a lot of strength. So white should fight. Because remember, walls in the center, they don't make points. They give strength. If you have strength, you fight. Okay. So yeah, this just steals so many points from white. Now here's another situation. There's nothing here. If you want to close this, maybe like this. Maybe like this. But you don't need to close anything here. You need to keep harassing the center. And the best way to do it is probably like this. Because this is actually a crucial point. There is a cut here. And it's a lethal one. So if white plays properly, cut, what are we going to do? We do this. Okay, now I need to leave inside. Otherwise, white's going to have everything here in the center. If we do this, well, white still got a lot. And we got some, attack potential. It's like, this is probably fine. But there's more cuts. Like at some point, maybe white can just cut everything. Let's see what happens. I don't know. It's not an easy fight. There's just so many cuts. I think if white here cuts, it's a very hard situation. It's really hard to like deal with this cut. It's very, very hard. Because again, the ladder is for white. You can't capture on a ladder here. Because of this stone right here. So this is a situation where we don't really think about territory. And we don't think locally. And we see where, is the rest. Because if I reduce white's territory, and I don't need to think how I'm going to reduce it. I just need to think if I have something in the direction of the power of this, then it's going to be hard to close. That is the advice I have, It will be hard. I don't care how yet. When we get stronger, we're going to care exactly how and techniques to do that. But for now, we're not thinking about the how. We're thinking about the what. Or maybe like something like that. Or the which. And which is reducing is this. So we're just going to adjust here. And then white has a very hard time closing this. Like if it close here, I don't know. It's just so hard to close. So hard to close. And there's so little points. Okay. Why attack from here? Which I think is incorrect. You can, again, just... Well, you can push, I guess. I think the cut still exists. I would probably play something like this. If white adjusts, okay, now I reduce this way. Right? Like, it's still big. This is like the all-in move. Because if we get cut, we need to leave on the inside. But yeah, white played this way. And now the cut is fixed. Okay, and from here, it's just some Jose. Here, when you have a serpent, so this is an advice for white. I know you're black, but it's still kind of useful. When there is a serpent, this is a serpent entering your territory, you can't really close from close. Yeah, like this. If you're going from too close, the serpent is just gonna keep advancing. You kind of have to do it from farther away, like from here. By the way, there's no cut here. There's nothing here. Maybe like this, maybe like this. Here again, you have a wall. There's no reason to do an empty triangle. You can just jump. You can jump here or here, whatever, if you want to keep reducing. But at this point, so little points here, this is bigger. This is bigger because, again, there are invasions. There's still invasions here. Remember, Chimari from Hochi, Keima, has invasions because it's a hide stones. Okay? You need to know that this exists. A, B, C, all of those will leave. And then D is a ko. But you don't know that. So it might leave anyways, right? Because this is more advanced. Knowing that this is a ko, it's like more advanced. And also, even sometimes it is a ko, but you still want it to just leave because you don't want to create a ko. That's what happens a lot of the time. So yeah, that's gonna be the class for today. I hope you find it useful. I know that this is a match you won, not a one you lose, but I still think there is a lot of things to be learned from matches. That's why we should always review every match, not just the ones we lose. Every match we have something to learn from. So yeah, bye bye.